Well, New South Wales Transport Minister David Elliott will join me in just a moment to get us there. He was asked at that press conference today why Sydney Trains executives were the ones who made the call early yesterday morning to suspend the city's rail services.
I don't expect them to send a car around at 2 o'clock in the morning and wake me up and tell me. Well, because we pay these people to do their job, and I accept the fact that at 12:43 it was their judgment call as executives of the organisation that they needed to use their discretion and close the system.
All right, well, joining me now is David Elliott, the New South Wales Transport Minister. Mr Elliott, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.
Why don't you, under the Westminster system, expect your department to send a car to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning when tens of thousands of commuters are about to be so inconvenienced? Shouldn't that have happened?
Well, as I said at the press conference this morning, Andrew, I mean, they made a judgment call, and I wouldn't, as the minister, have questioned that anyway. They could have done it at 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. If based on their risk assessment, the safety and welfare of passengers and commuters and members of the public was going to be in danger, that's their responsibility to make that decision. I'd accept the decision,
Mr Elliott,
whatever they do.
Mr Elliott, with respect, that is yes minister stuff. You're the minister.
Andrew.
You're in charge. Aren't you the one who's supposed to do everything you can to get the trains running and running on time?
Well, Andrew, when I was the minister responsible for fire and rescue, they didn't ring me every time they were sending out a fire truck to an emergency. This is an operational issue,
but this is different.
The operational commanders, well, it's not really.
But surely you can see the difference between fires going on and an entire train system being just shut down overnight.
Right. That's exactly right. Now, do I like having the fact that the commuters were inconvenienced for those 24 hours? Absolutely not. I've now got the risk assessment that they used to make that call based on, and I'm going through that line by line as we speak to make sure that I'm comfortable with their decision. But at the end of the day, this is an operational matter. The Premier has said, I've said, I think you'll find any politician that would be very, very brave to take a counter view when the operational advice is that danger to welfare of passengers was at risk.
All right, well, have your bureaucrats stuffed this up with that particular call? Well,
I'm not happy with it. I can say that because the communities were inconvenienced, but I'm not happy also because what we thought was an agreement on Saturday afternoon fell to pieces by 12:23 on Monday morning. And that's not something that I'm very comfortable about, and I'll be making sure that I get to the bottom of that. But as I said before, the focus question from you and from the Labor Party today was, well, why didn't you step in? Well, even if I did step in, there is no way in the world that I would have. Because can you imagine, Andrew, if I'd said no, don't close it down, based on, and then they said, well, here's our risk assessment, and then a couple of hours later, somebody got killed on the rail network because an error was made.
But is it the point, though, that those discussions should have been being had with you as minister in the middle of the night? I mean, you've got to have some involvement, or why do we even have ministers?
The advice that I got up right up until 11:30 was that there was going to be major disruptions. The union, the legal counsel from Transport for New South Wales, from Sydney Trains, all said that at 12:30, 12:45, the risk assessment that I've just been given indicated that the rail stock couldn't be rolling.
All right. What is the union after here? What are they actually chasing, and why did you withdraw the Fair Work Commission?
Well, I withdrew it because actually it was on the advice of Crown Solicitor. It was on the advice of to the Minister for Industrial Relations, and of course I was very suspicious that this action came the day that the front page of the Daily Telegraph said that the union New South Wales were going to call 2022 the year of the strike. So you'd excuse me for being just a little bit pessimistic about the motives. But I've with clean hands, sat down with the union and I've said to them, let's start all over again so far as the enterprise bargain. I think you mentioned in your introductory remarks, it expired in May last year. So they have every right to expect that to be addressed. And then, of course, there are, as with any union negotiation, there are There are debatable and disputed claims. There are ambit claims, and they're claims that I think are quite reasonable. And that's what we're going to do as we draft the new EA.
And are they after more than 2.5%? And will they be getting that?
Yes, they are. But as you all know, that's a cap. That's a 2.5% cap. That's legislation. So it does give them some discretion, and needs some discretion if they find offsets and savings, and of course I'll be looking at that. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, the railway workers won't be treated any differently to the police, to the nurses, to the teachers of this state. Well,
could we see further strike action then?
Andrew, I think the front page of the Daily Telegraph said that we should be guaranteed and prepared for future strike action, not just in transport, from all the other departments. And the union movement has said that this is the year of the strike. It's 12 months before an election, so it's the go-to tactic for the Labor Party, and I think that they've actually misread the electorate. I think when the Labor Party last used this sort of tactic in the 1970s and 1980s, they had 35% of the workforce was members of unions. It's nowhere near that now. It's in the single digits. So my appeal to the unions is, don't cause unnecessarily bad blood between you and the people of New South Wales.
Can you tell me why some train services could run today and none yesterday?
Well, because there was an agreement made overnight, and they were able to provide the staff, they were able to provide the rolling stock. And that, like any organisation, whether it be a pub or a police force or a rail network for that matter, you do need to give shift workers 1 or 2 days' notice to report for work, and that's what's happened. It was supplemented by 160 bus services, and of course all the other transport networks, ferries, light rail, metro, and buses were all working. But Andrew, I mean, I think you probably saw my tone yesterday. I can't express my disappointment enough at the moment, and I think all parties are at fault in some way or another. I'm never going to stand up and say that the state government is the perfect employer, but by withdrawing that matter from the Commission, I've shown the union and the workforce in Transport for New South Wales, or Sydney Trains particularly, that I'm prepared to go to address this thing with a blank canvas.
So you're admitting some fault on the part of the government here?
We're not perfect. Government isn't a perfect employer. Sky News isn't a perfect employer. There are no perfect employers out there.
Would you apologise to the people of Sydney then for the disruption they've suffered?
Well, as Minister, I have to. That is my role, to make sure that my anger reflects the anger of the commuters, but I've also got to make sure that they know that I don't find it acceptable, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience that's been caused to them.
Look, you're new to transport. Is it fair to say you've been played off a break by a pretty tough militant union here?
Well, Andrew, as you know, I am new to transport, but I've dealt with the Fire Brigade Union, I've dealt with the CFMEU, the AWU. For 20 years I've been dealing with unions. It's not something that's new to me.
This one's special though, isn't it? This one's special in terms
of holding it over the state
government.
This one's very special, Andrew, because it's members of Union New South Wales who actually published their battle plan yesterday on the front page of the paper. And for that, I was very, very disappointed that I was the first victim of their aggressive industrial campaign.
David Elliott, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.